Let's get back to the programming. Damilola Hassan from Meristem Wealth Management is here to talk about wealth management, but just a few seconds, 1 minute before we bring her in. Let's get back to the big story that is in the global marketplace for Nigeria. The Debt Management Office says it has filed registration papers with the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission for a global debt capital market offering. And a listing application will be made to the UK Listing Authority so that the diaspora bond can be traded on the London Stock Exchange PLC in the days and weeks ahead. That's big news here for Nigeria. This is the first time Nigeria is floating a bond, a dollar-denominated bonds, to get investment monies from Nigerians in the diaspora doing small businesses, medical professionals, physicians, traders, big people. Students may as well buy into the bond that will now be floated unlisted on the London Stock Exchange. This is a specialized bond debt offering that Nigeria is doing, and we're going to talk about this in the days ahead. We're going to break it all down. The joint lead managers globally for this, of course, are the big boys. Bank of America Merrill Lynch, because, of course, that is a US-based bank, and Standard Bank of South Africa is taking Nigeria's by hand into the US SEC for that registration. On the local front, First Bank and UBA are the joint lead managers. Well, so we need to get folks to understand what this roadshow is all about. So the DMO says there's meetings or roadshows taking place in the UK, in the US, and Switzerland starting June the 13th. That's sometime next week. And after that, the bond pricing will start after the roadshows and subject to market conditions. Meantime, the managing director of Nigerian Post Authority, Mrs. Hadiza Bala Usman, has sacked the representatives of Standard Organization of Nigeria, NAFDAC, and NDLEA from all seaport activities in Nigeria. She held a meeting with all agencies in the ports yesterday and says these three agencies are no longer allowed to have representatives in the ports or be part of cargo clearance processes. Mr. Bala Usman says she's reverting to the presidential directive of the year 2011, in which the federal government said only 7 agencies should be allowed to operate in the ports. And you have their names out there on your TV screen. The MPA, which is the owner of all the seaport facilities in Nigeria, the Customs, NEMASA, which is the Maritime Safety Agency. You have the DSS. Then you have the police, the immigration, and of course, for health matters and other issues, Port Health Services. If you see anyone else, you may just have to whistle. Okay, let's talk about wealth management. The stock market is making money. We've made more than about 1.5 trillion naira. That looks like a pile of cash. But again, we're just, well, getting maybe to the less hot part of recession that was all full-blown in 2016. Damilola Hassan is here to take us through whether this is a good time to buy some portfolios. Maybe you need to take care of the stomach first before wealth management. Good morning.
Good morning.
It's good to have you. Let's step back to last year. A very brutal year from an economic point of view, and I'm sure it was brutal for the market as well, somehow. So last year, were folks really interested in wealth management? Whether big man, small man, common man, Nigerians?
Well, last year we had a lot happening. I mean, there was so much talk about the recession. There was a lot going on within the economy. So it was a very challenging period. Priorities also shifted for individuals and institutions. For individuals, you would have to have satisfied your immediate needs, feeding, roofing, and all of that, before you think of investing. So really, there was less attention paid, to investments generally. But then we still had situations where you already have your investment funds set aside. You had funds that were still flowing in, the pension funds were still flowing in and all of. So you had some of those ones, which still, you had a lot of attention paid into the fixed income space. So a lot of those investments were diverted into the fixed income space. So really, there wasn't so much, but then it wasn't. It didn't come to a standstill.
In terms of wealth management, isn't it about folks having some money? I ask you and your team to manage it, and because there's a steady inflow from the right, and pushing it into you to say, look, take this out of my salary or my income every month, every 6 months or every year, and invest it in XYZ financial assets. With a recession, that inflow of money was
Tempered.
was seriously tempered. You think folks have made calls to you last year, did make calls to you, let's say, and say, look, I'm not too sure I can do 1 million naira a month or 5 million naira a month. Can we just do 500,000?
Oh, sure.
Something like that?
Sure. Purchasing power reduced, like I said earlier on. So you had that happening. But really, wealth management is a potpourri of the very complex management of finances to the very simple, mundane, everyday investment in mutual funds. So really, as an investor, you just have to find your level. The wealth managers were like financial physicians. So the way an individual would go to their doctors, not necessarily when they fall ill, but also because you want to be sure that you're in good condition. That is how an individual ordinarily should approach their wealth manager. So the fact that there's a recession does not stop some of your obligations from crystallizing. So you still have to face all of that. You have to plan. The fact that there's a recession doesn't mean that you won't inch closer to retirement. So your retirement planning needs must still be met. So you will still have to bring in all of those things regardless of what is happening in the larger economy.
As a wealth manager, that means you have a lot more. You say you're a physician. That means you have to keep tinkering, and because whether I'm investing 5 million or I'm doing 500,000, you will have to